And we are back.
We back.
Yeah, what's going on, Be Rich?
Oh man, everything's going good, man. I'm excited about this interview today.
Yeah, so for everybody who is able to see and for those who are listening, right now we have a very special guest. I mean, we have sports, radio, and just Georgia sports, period, like royalty in the building. Someone who has brought a voice. I mean, I know he's laughing, but he's brought a voice to the sports community and especially sports talk radio for many years, for some decades now. He's been a voice through some good times for Atlanta fans, Georgia Tech fans, and he's been the voice through some tough times. And so for those, look, he's already laughing because
ain't that the truth?
so for those who know who he is and for those who don't know who he is, man, I want everybody, man. Right now it's just me and Be Rich, who you can see and hear, but we're gonna give it up one time for the legendary Chris Dimino, man. Let's give it up for our guy Chris. Chris, what's going on, Dimino?
Listen, yeah, this took too long to actually get done. I'm really glad we're having an opportunity. Congratulations to you guys too on what it is you're doing. I mean, not only the guests, but we say it, we're a big city. You know, we're a big city. We should have more forums and more outlets to have people sort of talk about the things that people are talking about every day. And this is a great way for you guys to actually get out there. How long have you guys been doing this now?
Man, Chris, it's a year. February. Well, we started shooting a year ago this week, and our first episode came out, I would say, what, February 29th, Trey? Or a little bit?
February 28th is when we released our very first show. And thank you.
Yeah, happy almost first anniversary. I don't know, you guys probably know this. I think there were like 5 million podcasts now. 5 million. Like, I'm not even kidding. Do you know what the average number of episodes for a podcast these days? Less than 7.
Wow.
Less than 7. In the whole world of podcasts and the whole world of trying to get out there and have people hear you, it's less than 7 episodes is on average the number. So you guys, a big pat on the back and congratulations.
Man, thank you. I think this is our, 50, 60. Where were we at, Trey? We had 50.
50 or 51, somewhere in there. And it's been a true blessing, Chris, to be perfectly honest with you, with us getting ready to hit a year. I was talking to my son yesterday. I was actually in church with my son yesterday with my family. And we were just talking about, the sermon was on people using their talents. And I was telling my son, I said, can you believe, and I'm talking about me and Be Rich, I said, can you believe your dad who just hit 50 and his partner who's the same age with no formal training, with no degrees or anything in the media world has been able to accomplish what we've been able to accomplish in just a year's time, just in trusting our gut and just putting our talent out there and depending on everything to line up and just working hard. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, it's hard to find an audience. It's harder to keep it. You have to be interesting. You have to figure out a way to stay interesting. You don't want to just be a shot doctor because you can't do that every week. You can't do 50 episodes where all you're doing is crapping on people. You have to celebrate the things that need to be celebrated too. And I think, again, this town, we certainly have had a lot of bad moments, no doubt about it. But we've had some good ones. There's a reason why we've had some bad ones. And guys who have been in this town long enough, and I'm here 32 years coming this July, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
And if to have an outlet to be able to express that, I'll be a sports fan to the day I die, but listen, it's not all going to be roses. It's not all going to be easy. We in this town, absolutely. And I do feel we. Half of my life has been here now. So I feel okay saying the word we when it comes to the teams and my fanhood and everything else. We've got to find little blessings sometimes when they're harder to find.
True.
Yeah. Now I will say this, man. Like, it's an honor. Like, I used to be a pharmaceutical sales rep, and I used to travel all around Georgia. And you guys kept me, man. You and Nick was my favorite, man. You guys, man. I just remember I got to hear Nick and Chalene, Chris and Nick. I had to hear it. And you guys, I've seen you from the beginning. I would say almost. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's an honor for you to tell us, hey, I like what y'all doing. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And we're getting a lot of that from the from this community, and good. I really like that. And we really want to take this to the next level. And any advice that you can give us, we would love that. But we can go ahead and get it started off, man. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about the Braves, the Atlanta Braves this year, and where do you think they're going? And I was concerned about our pitching. Like, I'm reading the depth chart, and I know we don't have Freed, and we lost the older guy, Charlie Morton. And how do you feel, man? I see we got Chris Sale, Spencer Strider. I don't know too much about Ronaldo Lopez, and the other Spencer guy, Schwellenbach, Bach, and Grant Holmes. Talk a little bit about our pitching and what we're gonna do.
Yeah, the big day that everybody's waiting for is for Spencer Strider to get back. We just got back from spring training. We had him on for about a half hour the other day, and everything is according to plan. Now, this is the second surgery he's had on his arm, but this is not a Tommy John, so this one's different. He had a Tommy John in college. They put a brace in his arm, and it's not that. And he really wanted to reiterate it's not that, because I think, again, the recovery time is a little bit less. He's been through a recovery before, so mentally, look, if you see the guy, you know he's not sitting on the couch eating cake. He's working out. He's doing everything his body needs to do. Now it's just going to be a matter of, can I get back and stay back? Because I found it really interesting. He's a really smart guy, very cerebral. He's kept a notebook about everything he's done for a very long period of time. His goal is to not pitch in the major leagues. His goal is to pitch to stay in the major leagues. Like the end result is not the day he gets back on the mound. It's, can I sustain health? Can I actually be the type of guy that it looks like I can be, which is phenomenal. Filthy talent. Competitor, hard-nosed when he has to be. He's in control of a game. You see him, his presence. He looks, I'm big on, if I see a guy pacing as a pitcher, I go he's a little bit lost. This guy, it's called pitch and catch. He puts out his hand, gets the ball back, he's ready to go again. Pitch with conviction. So that's the big first day when it comes to, and it won't be opening day. So it's probably going to be sometime in May. The thing now is the back end of the rotation. Grant Holmes is a guy. I need him to start. I need him to be good. Ian Anderson, who was great in the World Series here. In 2021, Ian Anderson, he was a phenom.
I remember that.
It's incredible. Then he couldn't even make it back to the majors last year. He was coming off of Tommy John himself, but they didn't bring him up at the end of the year. They didn't bring him up to pitch in the postseason, so it was a little bit different. He's got a chance to be the number 5 guy, but somebody's holding a spot for Strider. I'm going to tell you, if I was in charge, and it's something that's sort of been talked about, the possibility of a 6-man rotation really does exist. I'll tell you why. Chris Sale, unfortunately, 35 years old, an incredible year. It's maybe the best comeback year we've seen on a guy, not really coming back from injury, but coming back from just being generally beat up. It was phenomenal what he did. He earned everything that was said about him. Great teammate. He's a dude. Like it's hard to be a dude when you're an everyday, like when you're a pitcher, not an everyday player. He's got dude in him. If I want to protect him a little bit, Ronaldo Lopez, who was in the bullpen, he was a starter 6 years ago, then he was in the bullpen. We stretched him out to be a starter. Grant Holmes, more innings. Schwellenbach has never thrown that many innings in his professional life. He wasn't even a starter in college. He was a shortstop and a closer. So if I can go 6 to protect those guys, Max Fried gone, Charlie Morton gone. If I ever thought a 6-man rotation could help Strider, Sale, Lopez, Holmes, maybe even Ian Anderson, I'd be thinking about that going forward. We've just got to get to the point where it looks like you have 6 viable arms, and then we'll see if they have that in any way consideration.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the lineup right quick. Sean Murphy, we all know who he is. He's returning. Matt Olson, we know who he is. Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Orlando Arcia, shortstop. I mean, we'll come back to that. And this new guy, Profar. Wasn't it? What's up with him? Yeah. Yeah.
He's been a highly touted prospect for a long time. He finally had. Look, the problem is, I'm going to tell you what the problem in baseball is. 20 and 21-year-old guys who are really good, if your guy naturally isn't a player till he's 24, 25, 26, that used to be the progression. Now, if you're 25, 26, people go, what's the matter with him? Why can't he play? Because we see 20, 21, 22-year-olds do it. This guy came into his own last year, and he did it in San Diego where they were expected to be a good team, and he was a really good player. Had his best year ever by far. We signed him on a 3-year deal. We're going to put him in left field, and the money was fine, $42 million. I think was the final number. But I need him to be that. That couldn't have been just a one-off. If that was a freakish year, it's not going to be good. We're not expecting him to be all-world. Don't need him to be all-world here. But hitting leadoff until Ronald Acuna gets back could be his job here. And he might be the leadoff guy for this team. It looks like it's going to play out that way, as long as spring training goes the way it's supposed to go.
Okay.
Arcia, you mentioned, he's supposed to hit 9th. I just need him to make every play in the field.
Man.
I don't need much else from him. If he gets on base, I'd like an opportunity to knock him in, but I'm not going to ask for a ton.
Okay.
And that's the way to play it with him. So that's 1 and 9 and everything in between.
All right. The question everybody wants to know is Ronald Acuna, is he going to come back to form and be able to one of the top guys in the league again?
So he did it. The good news is, and I can tell you, he looks great. I don't know if you know this. There was a moment with him and Matt Olson in the batting cage like last week where Ronald went in and took one swing. And Matt Olson said, one swing, that's it? He was like, yeah, because he felt so good in that one swing. They were sort of busting chops about it. Then he hit a home run on the backfield that would have, and this is the God's honest truth, they're building a hotel down where their facility is. He had a home run that would have been, based upon the plans and the blueprints, would have been in the pool at the hotel.
Wow.
So anytime you're talking about somebody clearing a fence, clearing a ballpark, and actually hitting a baseball into a hotel pool, I'd say he's going to be fine. The question is, he struggled coming out after the last ACL. He was a little bit tentative. He came back and had the year that he had as an MVP. So I love the idea that he's done this before. I think they're going to slow play it a little bit with him. He won't steal 70 bases again, but he doesn't need to. I do think he's going to be fine as a baseball player. For him, it's just, can he avoid the, oh my God, what now? Because you tear 2 ACLs and you're not 26 years old. That is just buzzard's luck. That's just terrible, terrible luck. You're not injury prone at that point. You've just hit 2 bad moments that have cost you a lot of games.
Gotcha.
100%.
All right. My last question about the Braves is, Michael Harris, is he going to be ready to go?
Yeah.
And our bullpen, can you just talk a little bit about the bullpen? Are we good to go? I know we have the closer. He's been proven. What about the other guys?
It's a little bit of a dogfight to actually get some of those spots. There's a guy named Joe Jimenez who pitched on a bad leg, and he had surgery. He's out. So a guy named Pierce Johnson might be the 8th inning guy. But, you know, it's funny. We always talk about the closers. How good is he? I don't need a great closer if I'm not going to go to the postseason. It's sort of a waste. Like, if you have a great closer and you're paying him good money, but you don't go to the postseason, you don't really get the benefit of that. 8th inning guy, now people are starting to realize, if I'm going to be a postseason team, I need a really good 8th inning guy. And losing this guy, Joe Jimenez, is going to be a big deal. It's not a little thing.
How long is he out for?
It could be the year. He might be back. So I'll tell you, he had a knee surgery, 8 to 12 months. If it's the 8-month end, he could be back for September and October. And you hope. Now, I can give him credit. He pitched with a bad leg that he knew needed surgery for the last couple of months of the season. So he had dog in him, and he actually went to the mound.
What happened to 2 people, Mentor and Tyler
Matzik?
Though I liked him in the World Series.
Yeah, they were both available to go other places, and AJ got his money in New York, and it's have arm will travel. You know, if you look like a good bullpen guy, you got to remember, you got to stay healthy. It's hard to stay healthy for 3 and 4 and 5 years in a row to get paid. But there was that moment of, we're not really sure, we don't want to invest, and other people did. So I agree with you. Those are losses. Those are legitimate losses. They signed a guy named Farmer. They got a guy who's 6'8". He looks like he came right out of Predator. Perdomo's his name. He is. If he pitches the way he looks, it's going to be fun to watch this guy come to the mound. But yeah, the bullpen is going to be something where they got to keep him upright. You know, you can make a couple of trades at the trade deadline to fix some things in the bullpen, but you'd like to be as set as possible, especially in a 7th and 8th and 9th inning role. And Michael Harris, look, Austin Riley missed more than 50 games. Ozzie missed more than 50 games. Michael Harris missed more than 50 games. It was terrible. Sean Murphy missed more than 50 games. Wow. It was just like all the crap that could happen happened. Michael Harris
still made the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's right. And Michael Harris came back. I think he hit 11 home runs in his 43 games at the end of the year. So he was carrying the offense. He's a legit. People think if he can play, he's had 2 seasons where he missed a bunch of games, but he has MVP type stuff.
Wow.
He plays Gold Glove center field. Mm-hmm. He gets on base. He hits for some power. He's ready to go. He wants to prove that he can be on the field for 150 plus games this year.
Man, shout out to Michael Harris. Man, Gresham Park's on. You know, I grew up in Gresham Park playing ball, so anytime Michael Harris comes up, I'm gonna shout out to Gresham Park.
I was just about to say that.
And his father's legendary around Gresham Park.
Yes.
His dad was a hell of a baseball player. His dad's been working with people at Gresham Park for a really long time.
Hey Chris, Trey was like Gresham Park. You know, he was like a pitcher, man. He was like one of the top guys back in the day.
No. Look, I'm not gonna let B Rich tell that lie. I was not one of the top guys. I was good all the way up until we hit teen years when strength and power in your pitches really mattered, and I started getting my ball slapped all around the fence. Every pitch I was throwing, they were slapping. But I do want to ask you this:
by the way, the world tells you when you've hit your peak.
Oh yes,
right.
Yes.
The world figures it out, and the world tells you when you've hit your peak.
Yes, yes. I was really good as a small kid when all I had to do was be accurate because a lot of kids couldn't pinpoint where the ball was and hit it. And I'm a lefty, so I had a natural curve. But once power had to start playing a part in it and velocity,
Yeah.
I fell off a cliff. But I do want to ask you about Ronald Acuna. Now I know you're not in Ronald Acuna's thoughts and you can't just be in his mind where he is, but I remember him having an interview. I want to say about a year ago before the injury. He talked about some of the struggles that he had mentally, quietly. Some of the things that he dealt with, and I don't want to put any like label on what he said because I don't want to misquote him. But seeing that he had the injury right after that, have you heard anything from the people around him as far as where he is in a mental space and where he is as far as mental wise?
Yeah, so
Coming back.
Nick and I sat down with him a couple of weeks ago, and let me tell you something, and it's not a small thing. He did the whole interview in English. He had an interpreter sitting there, never asked the interpreter to do anything. He did the whole thing in English. That's a great sign to me. Like, it's not a little thing. He's made a concerted effort to be able to talk post-game, to be able to talk through this injury, and he's in a great place. Like, relative to what he said to us, physically, mentally, he's hit his workouts, he hit his markers. All of that is good. Now it's just getting on the field, feeling confident in your leg. Because the first time around, you could tell. Going back on a baseball, he was uncomfortable after that first injury. He knows that now. Stealing 70 bases is not going to be a priority. He told us him stealing bases. Now, he did say he's back to 90 or 95% of his speed, which is great if it's true. But he'll steal a base dependent upon the game and score. He's not going to steal them to accumulate numbers. You got to take as much wear and tear off your legs as possible. Now, running 90 feet doesn't sound like it's much, but stop starts, foul ball. When you run that fast, and none of us really know what that's like, there's a beat up on your body, and he just has to feel comfortable that his knee will allow him to come in on baseballs, go back on baseballs, leg out doubles, score from second. That's the player that I think he wants to be, and I don't think you'll see anything other than that when he does come back.
Well, I don't know about you with Trey, man, but I was a 3.9 40 guy, so I was pretty fast.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely was. Yep.
Did you guys see?
Hey, look, let me tell you, that stood for fail for 3 times, and that's for 9 burgers after you finally got him.
Did you guys see the other day? Pac-Man Jones at 39 years old ran a 4.5.
Wow.
Man,
he said
Pac-Man is
it,
an unbelievable athlete.
And then he went out and did it. I would have lost all my money.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, so Chris, rounding up with the Braves, where do you see us going this year? Do we have a shot to beat the Dodgers since they bought everybody? And how are you so knowledgeable about baseball? Why are you so knowledgeable about that? And then we'll move on to football.
Chris, I want to add on to B. Rich's question, not just where we stack up with the Dodgers, but how do we stand in our own division with the Mets and the Phillies? Because, I mean, both of them were a series appearances back to back. How do we stack up with our own division as well?
I'm now more of a believer that 162 is just the appetizer. And I think we'll look at a 5-game losing streak or a 7-game winning streak, and we'll get crazy. We'll get crazy happy. We'll get crazy angry. I don't look at it now. It's 162 for a reason. The ups and downs emotionally. We had Brian Snicker on, and I'll put it this way. If you could give him one wish, he finds a genie on the beach down in Northport. He's walking with his wife today. They see a genie. He rubs it, says, we'll give you one wish, baseball wish. I want and need everybody to be healthy September 1st and from that day on. That's what baseball is. It's attrition. We didn't get Chris Sale to pitch. We didn't get Ronaldo Lopez to pitch in those postseason games. It wasn't easy getting there, and all of a sudden we were more handcuffed. Austin Riley, he was in a cast for 14 weeks. You're not supposed to be in a cast for 14 weeks. Buzzard's luck, he doesn't come back. So if he had one wish, it would be September 1st and on, we're healthy. And I think that's how you have to look at a baseball season. You have to look, we play 130 of them to get ready to play the last 32. We have to play 140 to get ready for the last 22 and then the postseason. So I think the Dodgers are in a freakish place. What they're doing is ridiculous. And it's not just spending money. It's deferred salaries and how they're doing it. It's all legal. It's all legal. Do you know that Ohtani plays for $2 million a year? Now, he's going to get $70 million a year 9 years from now. They're going to pay him on the back end. I don't even know if the guys who own the Dodgers are going to own him. But he makes $2 million, which means you can go spend money on other guys and spend money on other guys and spend money on other guys, and it's all legal. So, yeah, they're the beast of baseball. But at the end of the day, you have an error in the third inning of a playoff game. You lose the game. You don't get two guys in, man on third, less than 2 outs, 2 times in a game. You lose the playoff game. It doesn't matter what your lineup is and what your payroll is once the postseason starts. Can I avoid mistakes? Can I be healthy? And does the other guy, do we force him to make a few mistakes? Everybody is beatable. It just looks like on paper, they're as good as we've seen in a very, very long time.
Man. Yeah, well, hey, we definitely have a task ahead of ourselves because for a minute it looked like we were just the runaway favorites in our division for some years because we kept running it back.
That's right.
But the Mets, and I will tell you, I root against anything New York Mets. I just want to see them fail because I can't, me personally, I know you from kind of up in that area a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I can't stand some of the New York fans. The F. Trey Young, the New York Mets, just everything just drives me crazy. But they made the World Series. Like looking at them and the Phillies is crazy.
Trey, I'll tell you, 1999, I was down here 6 years at that point. I stopped being a Met fan. I got to know Braves players in the front office, and all my buddies up in New Jersey were like, "Oh, I can't believe you're dropping your team." I said, first of all, it's work related. First of all, now it's personal because I know these guys. And quite honestly, I don't want to root 800 miles away. I thank them for the 86 World Series. I thank them for the 73 World Series when I was 10. I'm not denouncing them. I'm just telling you I don't root for them anymore. I root for the Atlanta Braves.
Wow.
And there was a certain point where everybody up there, they got all pissy. They get crazy when all of a sudden you say, I didn't change teams on a whim. I didn't change teams because somebody was winning and my team was losing. I changed teams because I was going to raise my family here. You know, my daughters don't care that I rooted for the Knicks or the Mets or anybody else. They're Atlanta kids. So that was also part of it as well. And I agree with you. You know, I thank them for those years. It's why I'm interested in baseball, quite honestly. Having the Mets and the Yankees in the 60s and 70s and into the 80s was great. It was great for a lot of different reasons. But I don't root for them. I root against them because, because
you got a unique situation.
It's better for our business.
Yeah, you got a unique situation. I mean, you work for the Braves, you know the players, and you live here. So, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure once you start knowing somebody, you're watching and you're rooting. I mean, like, you know, I didn't like girls basketball until my daughter played basketball. And I started watching her. And then I love girls basketball now. You understand?
I'm the biggest. I watch Women's World Cup. I watch women's soccer in college more than I'll ever watch the men's game because both of my daughters played. That mattered to them. It mattered to me. I got to know the game better. And, there's a you sort of gravitate towards what's interesting to you or what matters to you.
Yeah, and I learned it, and I enjoy it. Like my daughter played for Woodward. They won the state championship 2 years in a row. She got Defensive Player of the Year, so I was all in. I even want to watch the WNBA and get into that. I watch women's college soccer and the women's world, the national team more than I watch the men because I understand the game better. I understand the speed of the game better. I understand what I'm seeing and not seeing. And again, it's like the Braves. You gravitate towards what makes you happy. You gravitate towards what interests you. And then I'm not a fan of guys who drop teams every 3 years and they go to Marshalls and pick up the Golden State Warriors hat. I'm not a fan of that, but I do think that you are entitled to go, oh, this is why I've changed my opinion about who I root for. Well, I've been a Braves fan, man, ever since Dale Murphy, Bob Horner, when we had that, I think, was it 13-game winning streak or 9-game?
To start the season.
Yeah, and they had the Burger King glasses. I remember that, man. Like that's when I was a fan, man.
So were you one of those kids, if you had perfect attendance or good grades, you got a ticket to the game? Because that was a big
thing.
I remember that.
Yeah,
man, you know what? Until you just said that, I forgot about that until you just said it. Yeah, I remember they had that at our school. They sure did.
Yep.
Yeah, we had that.
That's how you create fans. And listen, the game, all games, all sports need younger fans. Baseball especially needs younger fans. Basketball needs younger fans. I get a kick when my kids were in elementary school, I'm sure yours, and even junior high, when Friday was uniform day. Like you got the Braves going to the postseason. I love that stuff. That's great for the town.
I remember when I played high school football, we used to get to wear our jersey. We played on Friday. Oh man, I was like, all the girls. Oh, you played.
Everybody felt good about themselves back then.
Yeah, man.
Hey, well, look, Chris. Speaking of younger fans, since you brought that up, speaking of younger fans, and that's how you get them in early and you build fans for teams. My youngest son, when he found out the Falcons had never won a championship, he said, "Well, maybe I need to get a new team." I mean, he really said that about a month ago. So I mean, what do we need to do? What do these? Like I call them. I don't know if you ever heard it, but it's a term I started last year. I call them the blood pressure birds because they run our blood pressure up. What do we need to do right now with the Falcons as far as where we stand? What do we need to do to get the ship right? Or do you think we're headed in a good direction? What do we need to do starting from the GM, coach, and down to the players?
So I'll say this, the best thing they have going for them, this is not a great thing, is the division they play in. Like when that's the best thing you have going for you, that's not great. It's not a good division. So that's the best thing they have going for them. Kirk Cousins things blew up, obviously. We still don't tackle quarterbacks. It's been 31 years since I lived here, and whether it was Patrick Kearney or John Abraham, we got it wrong with Ray Edwards. Everybody knows the history. We just don't play defense at a level. When we had guys like Keanu Neal, who just retired at 29 years old, he used his body as a missile. I loved him.
Loved him too.
Willie Moe, like you're not as talented, but you're willing to sacrifice your body. Well, now you need talent. You need some of that. The league doesn't really want it very much anymore. We see guys get fined and everything else. So you can't really be that type of player. You have to be more talented. We just haven't had a ton of talent on that side of the football. And knocking down quarterbacks, strip sacks and everything else, we just don't do it well. And until you do that consistently well, it doesn't have to be great, not have to be the best in the league, but you've got to put fear into people. And here's the problem for me, for the Falcons. I have not bought into it. This year I bought into it a little bit more because I like the Cousins signing. I thought you spend money on that guy and he'll find you 3 more wins. We'll go from 7 to 10, and in this division we'll get in. It doesn't happen. Then he opens up his mouth and tells me he's hurt, which means, this is the truth, guys. Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris are going to talk at the Combine tomorrow on Tuesday. Do you know what they're going to have to answer more than what will the draft look like? Kirk Cousins questions, which is just the state of where we are. We can't even the fact that we were talking about the Falcons in February when they had a GM and they had a head coach, but Kirk Cousins opened up his mouth. That's the worst thing in the world. We're talking about the Falcons in February, and you know that if you're talking about them in February, it ain't good news. We weren't looking for a coach. We weren't looking for a GM. We were talking about a quarterback who we're going to pay $100 million to. It blew up in all our faces because that's the way it goes around here.
Yeah. Well, Chris, your tone sounds like you're not on board with the Falcons this coming season. I feel optimistic, me personally.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your tone? Why is it like that?
So I have to trust people who haven't shown me I'm supposed to trust them yet. I have to trust them. And I'm sort of more of a, if I see it, I believe it. I don't really get duped on social media, like the fake accounts. Like I don't find myself getting duped very often because I go, oh no, I'm going to have to see that to believe it. I'm going to have to see a draft that only has 5 picks. What draft?
Kirk Cousins cost us 2 picks.
I know. And Judon cost us a pick.
Yes.
Now, right. So I need to see Terry Fontenot and company get more than 5 picks. I hope they're capable of doing that. I need for them to be right because short of Michael Penix, who wasn't supposed to play, we got basically no starts, no production out of our entire draft last year. And if you look at the last 3 years, we haven't gotten any production out of our draft. So now you're optimistic, that's fine. You're probably buying the Michael Penix, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, pretty good offensive line. Kyle Pitts, I'm done with. I don't care. You can have him. I don't want him. The idea that we have to pay him this year unless he gets traded bothers me. I think he's been a bust. Relatively speaking, he's been a bust. I don't care about the first year anymore because we're not in the first year. We're not in the second. We're not in the third. It's his 4th year. So 5 coming up, and we're paying him. I don't even know if he can play or wants to play anymore.
That's the part. I don't like the loafing, man. That's what makes me not want to give him a chance. Like, what in the hell are you doing? Stop loafing. At least pretend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've seen better acting in High School Musicals than him trying to pretend he had a catch. He had a catch in the game, and people go, "Oh, look at that!" Look at that. I waited 15
He did that
weeks.
to me. Trey did that to me. I was like, man, that was a great catch. I tried to make something out, and Trey's like, that's what he's supposed to do. He's a 4th round. He's a 4th. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, exactly. I don't celebrate those types of things. I should be angry when he doesn't make a play. Instead, I'm celebrating when he does. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. I'm going to tell you what I'm nervous about with Michael Penix. Jaden Daniels has made it difficult because he made it look easy last year. Bo Nix, to some degree, made it look kind of easy last year. Michael Penix only played 3 games. And I'm nervous that people are telling me, oh, you got it right with Michael Penix. I think he's got arm talent. I think he's mature. I think he's in his mid-20s, not 21, 22. I don't think he wants to run around Atlanta. I think all those things are good. What's his progression going to be? Who's calling the plays for him? Is that the right guy? Is it the right system?
Yeah. But Chris, you gotta go with this, man. Like, he's Joe Cool, man. Like, he didn't bust under pressure. He didn't bust pipes. How Ritter looked like a deer in headlights. And I mean, this gonna catch up to him, the Brett Favre syndrome, because he threaded those balls through 3 defenders.
Yeah,
he's gonna get some picks if he keep being like that. But it don't seem like nothing fazed him, Chris, and that's what I see.
But here's what I can't figure out, and I've asked people who have been GMs, currently GMs, coaches, quarterback coaches, players. We start these kids in 7th and 8th grade with iPads, and we send them to 7-on-7 camps, and we send them and we teach them how to look at film. We teach them how to read defenses. I can't find 32 guys in the entire world who can play this position. There's not 32 guys, and we're starting them younger than ever. There are not 32 guys in the world who can play this position better than adequate. And here's the big problem. They keep paying more and more for guys just because they have a pulse. If you have a pulse and you play quarterback, you're $25 million. Now we're going up to $50 million. Brock Purdy wants $50 to $60 million. We've lost our minds. And just because you pay a guy doesn't mean he can play. It's just that to keep him, you had to pay him. And then it takes away, you have less money in a cap world to spend money on more talent. And I get really nervous. Here's the best news about Michael Penix, like Russell Wilson, Brock Purdy. If I get him before I pay him, and he's good before I pay him, the bill's going to come due. But if I am paying him his first contract money and we win and go to the postseason, dance in the streets, because you are going to be the exception. See Jaden Daniels, see Bo Nix, they got to the postseason. If that version of Michael Penix, I don't need him to be great. I need him to be good enough to find a way to 10 wins, to help this team win 10 games. I'm in. I just don't think 3 games gives me enough to say he's a given going forward. He is smart. He is mature. He's got arm talent. But that doesn't – I got to see it.
Yeah. I understand, and that's fair for you to say. But I really feel like, we got a chance to go to Buford and watch him play. And I just remember when he came in against Denver and he threw that ball, and the receiver dove for it. It seemed like the ball made him come and get knocked out. I was like, damn, that was a hard throw. It knocked the receiver out. I'm just joking, but now I feel like Michael's gonna be all right if he stays healthy. He's gonna be okay.
Here's the thing with him. Right. Unfortunately, I think we need him to be better than okay, I think is my point. Because unless the defense gets solved, I'm going to need him to be better. Look, we have 4 guys who were drafted in the top 10 on one side of the football, and we scored 20 points a game last year. I don't care who's young. I don't care who's been here 1 year, 2 years, 3. We have 4 drafts, top 10 guys on one side of the football. It's an offense-driven league. They want the offense to score more points. We score 20 points a game. Like, that's with this defense, that's not going to win you enough football games.
Yeah, I think
so.
Go ahead, Trey.
No, good. So with Michael Penix, I say, I trust me, Chris. I do understand you have to see it. I'm like you, and I'm a couple things I'm gonna talk about, but I'm gonna start with Penix. The one thing that I'm banking on, because I'm all in on the do-rag dude. I call him the do-rag dude. I'm all in on Michael Penix. The things that I've seen
good for
in
the town. He's good for the town because I think he's got a rally around personality. He's not boisterous. I think it's good for Atlanta to have a guy that we think is going to hold his water. He's going to stand up and be a man. I love that part. Now you just got to go play real good football.
No, you're right about that. The thing that I saw about him, and the reason B. Rich calls him Joe Cool, like Joe Montana saying he was real cool. I mean, he went on 2 game-tying drives in games where he had to have it, where it felt like we had. And for Ricky, that showed me a lot about his mental and what he has inside. Like for someone to go through, and you know the injury history as much as I do. That's something that we as fans have been concerned about. And if you're not concerned about his health, then you can't say you're being objectively honest with yourself, right? You have to be concerned about his health. But
yes.
But for someone to make it through those injuries and still push themselves to get back on the field and become a top 10 pick, to me that says something about him mentally. Now I think he's going to be fine mentally as far as can he handle the moments. But like you said, now getting through the X's and O's, if he can put that together along with what I believe he has mentally, I believe that Michael Penix can get the job done, and he could very well be that quarterback for us.
He checks boxes. I agree 1,000% with you. He checks boxes. Some guys would have sulked. Some guys might not have, they would have been, oh, woe was me, I got hurt again. I don't believe about him, and I think that's great. You got to remember, though, in this league, the other guy, the defensive coordinators, they pay them a lot of money to figure guys out. And if you have a weak spot, if it's muddy the pocket, he's not a running quarterback. People who think he's a running quarterback, they're wrong. Does he have an ability to see what's open for him? Go get 6 yards, get down, and not get cracked? That's the part of the game that you have to play. You can't simulate that on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in practice. You have to play NFL games to get that.
No, I get that. I got to reiterate, man, as a Falcon fan, it's not been many times since Ryan and Vic where it's 4th down and you got to score and you do it. And he did it. And he didn't look phased doing it. And that right there shows a lot. I know it's a short sample size, but I got a feeling, Chris. But as far as, let me say this too. This team reminds me of the 2015 and 16 team. I always say this. Like the 15, Kyle Shanahan, it went like 5-6-0. Then everything blew up. Roddy White them blew up, and then they faltered. They came back 16, and they got a good draft on defense. They hit home runs on each pick. If we can solidify this defense, and I do have confidence in as far as signing free agents. Now drafting, I don't know. I know he could a good talent evaluator with free agents. Hopefully he can do something with that, and we can get some draft picks. I feel like we can work that magic again like we did in 16, hopefully.
Can I give you one other thing they probably have to fix, though? It's a shame because Koo was probably the MVP of this team for 4 years in a row, not making the postseason. It's like I said about a closer. If I get a great closer and I don't make the postseason, I wasted it. I spent money. Koo was the MVP. That's not great when your kicker's the MVP for a few years in a row. But to watch him struggle and to watch a couple of games go away, they have to fix that too because they're dealing in small margins. Their margin of error is small. When he was really good, I felt good about close game tight, get it to the 40, 50 and in, 50 plus even. I felt good. They've got to fix that because they're going to.
Is it his head or is he injured?
He said he was hurt. I watched his stance, and this is documented. I watched him go look at 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and go look at his setup this year.
He changed.
Something was up, like something was not good, and it played out that he wasn't good. He got hurt, or at least they shut him down. I had a kicker who couldn't kick 50 yards. That's a fact. We had a guy who we signed that could not go from 50, probably couldn't go from 46 and beyond. That's not a great place to be if you're a Falcons team that has to play games close. We don't blow people out. We're not good enough defensively. We're not good enough offensively. So if I got windows where 5 or 6 games are going to come down to a kick, they better fix the kicker thing as much as anything else this year.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, like how B Rich said, this team reminds him of 2015. B Rich, my brother, one of my best friends, and like B Rich is the optimist king. I mean, he would be, if this was the Matrix, but he would be Morpheus trying to give everybody some kind of optimism, red pill or blue pill or something. But I tell him all the time, I say it's hard for me to see this team being the 2015 to the 2016 team because those circumstances, some of the circumstances that were around how that team elevated, you just can't duplicate that. They had four starting players they drafted in 16.
I know.
4 who contributed major time on the field and made major plays. I mean, teams don't do that often. You rarely find a Keanu Neal, Deion Jones, Devondre Campbell, and Austin Hooper all in the same draft. And the year before, you got a Grady Jarrett and Vic Beasley who had a great year in 16. Like it's so hard to duplicate that success. That's just too hard for me to say it's going to be the same.
Do you know who's done it though? Philadelphia. Howie Roseman.
Oh, Philadelphia definitely has
4 years in a row. His first 3 rounds, 4 years in a row, have all been lights out.
Wow.
Lights out.
Georgia Bulldogs, man. Like Philadelphia Dogs.
and everybody's talking again. We don't draft Georgia players around here, and it's fact. It's documented. We have gotten cute at times. Let's go to South Montana State. Let's go over here. I found a guy who he wowed me at the Senior Bowl. Like I'm so fed up with. Oh, look, we think this sounds like a cheap shot. It's not. Stop pretending you're smarter than everybody else. Go get guys who play big-time football and big-time football.
Yeah, man, SEC football the best, man. Go get it.
You know what Philadelphia's done? Georgia and Alabama. 13 guys from Georgia and Alabama.
Wow.
And you know what, Chris, it's not being, and I'm glad you prefaced it like that. It's not being disrespectful or trying to be smart. Sometimes we as men, this is something that we as men have to learn in life. Sometimes we can try to act like the smartest man in the room in certain situations. Sometimes you just need to just take the plain answer that's right in front of you. You don't have to be the smartest man. Take the plain answer and take the win that's right in front of you and continue to build.
Sometimes 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Well, we at the 40-minute mark. Got the last 20 minutes. I want to turn it to the Hawks. I want to start by saying I'm a big Trey Young fan. I love Trey Young. What is up, man? Why does it seem like, first and foremost, the league don't like Trey Young, and why does it seem like the Hawks ownership don't want to get that Batman and Robin duo with him? When you think of other players, you think of Shaq. Who do you think of? Kobe. You think of LeBron right now. Who do you think of? Luka. You think of Steph. You think of Draymond. Trey ain't never had that since he's been here.
So I think they thought with Murray. I think Murray was supposed to be sort of that, and obviously it didn't work. And here's the kicker to that: San Antonio has our unprotected first-round pick. Do you know if they're 5 games under right now? If they're in a draft lottery, think about this: between San Antonio and us, they could get Wemby, his guy, before we get Trey, our guy, and they might do it on our back because of the Murray deal where we gave him 3 picks, and that's one of those. Look, Luka and Trey, if you didn't like it then, you don't like it now, whatever. But the idea that San Antonio could end up winning that deal more than we ever thought possible by getting our unprotected, he could be first, he could be second, he could be third, whatever pick it is, San Antonio gets it. That bothers me. I like Trey Young more now than ever. The thing, he was second in the Rookie of the Year that year. And ever since then, the league has thought about him less and less and less. How do I know? He doesn't get invited to play on this USA team. He doesn't make the all-star team. They don't pick him. Players and coaches don't pick him to be an all-star. So it's like he pissed in somebody's cornflakes, and nobody wants to see him for what he is. He's extremely talented. I don't blame the shortcomings of this team on him. I think he actually, if I was a guy who wanted to get paid, if Trey's going to make it easy for me to score, and 10 and 11 assists a night means somebody's scoring, I'd play here. I think the problem is he got a reputation. He doesn't play defense. He's too small. All he wants to do is shoot big-time threes. I think he's past that. He said something the other night about how the refs are – he finally said he's getting fined. But he said they hold whatever this is against me and this team. And he's right. I thought it was his best moment as a Hawk. 2 best moments. The one in New York was phenomenal. Take the bow, take your asses home is as good as it gets. But I thought him speaking up finally at 26, whatever he is, where he said, we don't get respected. I respect him more for finally saying that, knowing he's going to get fined, because he's right. He doesn't get respected. This team hasn't earned respect. Tony Ressler hasn't gone into the, paying the big taxes to go get another guy. And again, same thing like we said about Terry Fontenot and everybody else. The NBA draft is being a GM in the NBA. This gets me in trouble. It's the easiest job in the world. I call it a 3-hour lunch job. You have 2 rounds of picks. The maximum contracts are already set. You don't negotiate any of those. The numbers are the numbers. You don't negotiate anything. Guys now demand trades in that league. And what do you have to do as a GM? Okay, I got to trade you. That job is so easy. 2 rounds. I got it. And by the way, you only play 9 guys. Like I got 14 on the bench. I got 14 guys, but I only play 9. It's an easy job. The problem is when you get it wrong, and if you unfortunately got the first-round pick, and it's not a shot to Ricochet, but my God, you want to just talk about Hawks luck, Atlanta luck. We get the year that everybody goes, oh, he's going to score 12 a game, and he's the number 1 overall pick. I don't want to bang on him. He's got a game size. He's got to learn himself. He's got to learn a new country. I get all that. But Kate Cunningham, whether it's Cooper Flagg, whether it's Wemby, we did not win the lottery the year we had hoped to win the lottery. And it bothers everybody because we go, that's what happens around here.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely agree with that.
I don't know if he's ever going to look like an overall number 1 pick. He's got plenty of time to get better, but it's just I think there are going to be other guys that you're going to say, oh, damn, that guy was a franchise guy. This guy doesn't feel like he's a franchise guy. Fair or unfair at this point?
Chris, I'm gonna tell you this. Like, I see something a little different. I see the work ethic in him. I see he's gonna put the work ethic in, and those shots are gonna start following. I'm not saying he's like, you're right. Like, the year we get number one is not a Victor, it's not a LeBron. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But I do see something in him. I think he's gonna be a tough three. He's gonna be able to hit those threes. Those threes are gonna start falling. And he's a long, lengthy guy where he's gonna give solid defense, and he'll be an all-star. Now, will he be, all-world generational talent? I don't think so.
Okay.
But
let me ask you guys something. Do you think Trae Young finishes his contract here, or is he gonna wake up one day and say it out loud? It's time.
Okay, so
let me go first. Chris, I'm on record of saying that this summer will be the first summer that they'll be like the Hawks can they'll be eligible to offer him another extension if they want. We don't know if it'll be this year after next year, but they may want to offer it this year. I'm of the thought process that I personally don't think that business-wise it would be the best move for Trae Young to just immediately sign an extension. I think Trae Young needs to speak with the management and tell them, look, it's time to put up or shut up. He may not say it in those words, but it's time to really show me. I'm showing you that I'm changing on the court because clearly there's a concerted effort on his behalf.
I agree.
To wait to get other guys involved, be more of a leader. I'm doing me. I'm growing up. We can throw in him being a father, not him being married, whatever the things are. I'm growing up. I'm showing you that I'm growing up to be even more of the player I want to be and the player you want to give $200 and something to $300 million to. But when are you going to show me? When are we going to take some drastic measures that don't take us backwards? And I understand you tried to get me DeJounte, but you gave up this many picks to get it. When are we gonna make a good move that can help me and then I'll sign? That's my thought process.
Ding,
what I think Trae should do.
And I'm going to tell you something that I think is crazier than and I agree 1,000% with you. Can I tell you that I think Trae Young might be one of the few guys that would take less money to put himself in a position to win? He's going to make generational wealth. That's not his grandchildren's grandchildren. If he handles his money right, they're going to be taken care of. I honestly think there's going to be a point in his career, and it's within the next year, where he's going to look around and go, I'm 26, 27. What's my reputation? My problem with Trae, and this is one that I think still exists, and this is the reputation thing, B-Rich. Could Trae Young pick up a phone right now and get the best free agent to come here? Oh. It doesn't feel like it, and that's what stinks. His numbers, his play, it looks like he should. I just don't think he has that sort of swagger. I don't think he has that. He can pick up the phone and get anybody. Yeah. When he realizes that, I think he'll probably look to join somebody, maybe take less money because the Hawks could certainly give him the most, and try to, in the last 7-8 years of what could be easily a Hall of Fame career, try to make sure that he's got playoffs that matter in there as well.
All right, so
go ahead, B. Rich. You let them know how you feel, B. Rich.
This how I feel. This how I feel. The Atlanta Hawks will keep Trae Young. The reason I say that, they traded DeAndre Hunter for nothing. They traded Bogey for nothing. So obviously they're setting up something to try to make a play to get someone to come play with him. Yeah. All right. The Atlanta Hawks are the only team that can offer him the most money, by far the most money. And you may be right. He may not want to take less money, but I feel like Trae has a loyalty to Atlanta for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like he do. I had a chance to meet him. He's a good guy. I think he catches the light skin syndrome. And I'm a light skin guy and I catch it. So I understand what he's going through, but I do see. I don't know if Quinn Snyder has taught him, because when I talked to him about Quinn Snyder, he definitely said he likes Quinn Snyder. He likes him. He likes what he's doing. I don't know if Quinn kind of slowed him down. Hey, look, get other guys involved, and I see that this year. I see him purposely getting guys involved in the game first, and then on a couple of those games that they lost to Detroit, another game they lost to Chicago, he didn't take the last shot, and he ended up passing it to DeAndre Hunter, and he got blocked. And on certain games, he's not taking that last shot, and I think he's like setting it up. So hopefully, I pray that he wants to take the most money. I hope Atlanta steps up, because if we lose Trae Young, the Hawks franchise, what do we do? We're in shambles. Like, our fans are gonna be mad. We're not gonna have anybody, especially if we lose them for nothing. So they really have to do something. Now, if we somehow can package a deal and get Ant-Man here, then okay, it's on and popping. You know what I'm saying? That would be the move. But I don't know, man. I think he will stay. I don't know.
So here's what I'm going to tell you: you can clear all the money you want, but it's just free agents and money until free agents sign here. Either want to play with him, Now, I'm going to tell you what my pitch would be.
Yeah.
Come to a city that's never won a championship. Let's do this here together. They will build statues.
Yes.
If we win a title here.
Hey, Chris, a Friday night game. We're 25-0. We're balling. Tell the world how that stadium would be and how many. It's Black Hollywood. Explain it.
We saw what happened that year they played the Celtics in the postseason. Losing to the Celtics was a bitch, but that was when the city came together and said, "Oh my God, this is a blast." There's Al Horford, and there's that group, and it was a rally around like you don't see. It was like the Falcons. When it's good, people will rally around. That is a social building. Basketball is now a social game. I got bars underneath, but I got the TVs. I high-five strangers. That's what you want. This town could absolutely be that. But here's the problem. If nobody wants your free agent money and nobody wants to come here to be the first to win a title here, all you're going to have is a pile of cash and not enough talent taking it. And that's what I worry about.
I like what you said, to be the first.
Why wouldn't that be in this town? This town is a mark. Look, we live in a place where a lot of people want to live. Not so many of them want to play. That's crazy to me because Golden State's won titles. You know, the idea that the Brooklyn Nets were in 2 finals, like nobody remembers it, but they went back-to-back in 2 finals. They didn't capitalize on that. I would love for this town capture the imagination. The building would be crazy good. A playoff run and a championship here in Atlanta. Look, I'm not telling you it would be a Falcons dream, but I am telling you there'd be enough people around here who would weep. They would weep.
Crazy.
If you win a title in this town.
You would be cemented forever. I tell people like the fans here, you know, and the 3 of us, we're fans, you know, no matter how we all came about being in the city and becoming fans. But if you win here, like the fans, we want a winner. We want a winner. You will be cemented forever. Like the fans, we want a winner. I don't care what people say. Us fans only want entertainment. We don't care about this. We don't care about that. We the worst fans. That's all one big fat lie. We want a winner, and you would be cemented forever if you bring that to the city of Atlanta.
I will tell you this about Falcons fans, and it's the same with the Hawks. There's a reason why they show up or don't show up. This is a social town. This town wants to high-five a stranger. This town wants to have a drink at a game. This town wants to go to the bar at a game. They do it in Mercedes-Benz. They do it here where the Hawks play in State Farm. But if you added winning to that and people were walking out high-fiving, not just moments of high-fiving, I get nervous that that's the thing that I hope somebody over there realizes. And I need a free agent or two to just say, oh, yeah, what would it be like to win in that town? If you're the first to the finish line championship, you write your own ticket. Like you will be.
Nah, you'd be the man.
You'd be the man. And I don't know who wants that responsibility. And I agree with you, B. Rich. I think Trae Young loves being here. I think he thinks about that, being the first. I think he thinks about getting this franchise to where they've never been. You can't do it by yourself. I need somebody else or two that want to come do it.
They got to have somebody that's his equal or superior. They got to.
Let me tell you, if the Hawks win a championship in that building, Stats and McCormick and Smicks will not be able to keep enough hot wings and lobster bisque on deck for the fans. And the amount of people who will be in those restaurants going crazy after the Hawks win a championship.
Ted's gonna be popping.
they better have, those barriers when you close down the street. I don't want 9 blocks, but just give me 2 blocks where everybody can go have a party in the street.
Yeah.
What happened?
Hey, Chris, are you a Falcons fan like you are a Braves fan?
Look, I did pre and post for about 10 years, and I saw some really good years and I saw some bad years. I was at the Super Bowl down in Miami. That was terrible. I was in Houston. That was even worse.
Okay,
so I've been with, So go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. I root for them really hard, but I'm negative. I know that I'm negative about it. I don't like it.
I remember you was on the air when we went to the Super Bowl against the Vikings. I remember how you got excited. But I want to ask you this. The day after the 28-3 loss, did you have to go on air?
I'll give you better. Yes, I did. So this is a God's honest truth. I'm in the building. I'm in Houston. And I'm going to do Monday's broadcast. Win or lose, I'm going to do Monday's broadcast from Houston, and I'm going to get on a plane. Listen to how this plays out. I'm sitting in the media section. It's 28-3, and I've got guys that I know nationally and a couple of local guys. I know guys who are covering the Super Bowl who are coming up to me going, congratulations. There's going to be a parade. This is unbelievable. Good for you. Same guys in the fourth quarter, they take everybody in the media and they put you in the basement, like on the field level, because you got to get out to the field to do interviews. So we're always heard this pen. All of a sudden, the same guys were saying congratulations. The Falcons were still up a touchdown. The same guys come up to me and go, hey, man, sorry. Everybody knew they were losing that game. Everybody who said congratulations knew the Falcons were losing that game. Everybody, before they lost it. And I went from going on the field to interview everybody who won to walking around on that field going, are you kidding me? I had a guy say to me, I swear to God, I had a guy say to me, I've never seen this before. I said, brother, this has never happened before. Nobody's ever seen this before. Nobody's ever seen this before. Eugene Robinson, 28-3. That's the two experiences for the Falcons in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now, I just wanted to see how you felt the next day on air.
So it gets better. So I don't go to the party. They still did their party, like even though they lost. I didn't go. I went back to the Airbnb I was at. I woke up and I did the show. Here's where it bothers me more than anything. That Monday, I'm flying out of Houston. Not a big airport. I'm at a gate, flight to Atlanta. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there and I see up on the board, the next gate over, flight to Boston. Now they all start coming in before their flight. And they're wearing their championship hats and they're all dancing.
Man.
I said, this is God's cruelest joke.
God's cruelest joke. Man, I was so hurt, Chris. The first person that called me was Trey. I talked to him, or I called him one.
Yeah, he called me. And for the first, I think he talked 5 minutes, and I didn't hear one word that wasn't a profane word. And I didn't even get a word out. I just answered the phone. He's like, I promise you, I bleep, beep, 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 beep. It was crazy.
In the building, it was surreal. I have one of those T-shirts that says Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl champs. Do you remember Dick's Sporting Goods? They put them on the rack, and they had to take them off and send them to someplace around the world. I don't even know where they went. Somebody got me one, and I have it. I literally have this thing, and it's like the cruelest joke. It's funny. There aren't a lot of them out there, and I have one, and every once in a while, I'll just go, this team was supposed to have a celebration and a parade that would have set this town on its head.
Yeah.
Braves World Series parades were great. A Falcons parade would turn this town upside down.
We were throwing a party in City Hall. No, I was saying we throwing a party in City Hall, Chris.
Yeah. For 3 quarters, I knew what it felt like to win a Super Bowl. I swear to God, I knew how I felt.
Have you ever watched it again?
I have.
But Trey has watched a ton of time. I watched it, and we supposed to have Sanu on, and I want to talk about that play when they call holding on us. But on the same play, it was face mask, and it should have been off-center penalties. We should have kicked the field goal. So I want to talk to him about that.
Yeah,
nobody cares about that, unfortunately.
Right. It's the Freeman whiff. It's the Edelman.
Look, you know what I'm saying?
We talk about Julio's catch. That catch was incredible.
That would have been the best catch in history if we'd won.
The problem is there was a guy in that game who had a better catch. It was Julian Edelman.
Yeah, remember that? That was tough.
He could put a card underneath.
Yeah, we always say, because we're on the losing end. That Julio catch there was a better catch in that game. It's not the greatest catch ever. Edelman had a play that was even better, which is just mind-numbing.
Chris, a couple things. It's one play, and then I want to ask you something else. It's one play that people don't remember. Just all kind of plays were happening for them. We had them deep down in their own territory. I want to say maybe below the 20, around the 18 or something like that. Vic Beasley gets around the edge, hits Tom Brady's arm. The pass flutters in the air, and we got 3 guys ready to catch it. Martellus Bennett, the pass wasn't even for him. He just happens to run out of nowhere, catches it, and runs for a first down. Now, that wasn't on one of the crucial drives that won the game, but it's those type of plays that how do they happen? Because that ball was about to be intercepted. It was 3 Falcons waiting to jump on that ball and get their hands under it, but he comes out of nowhere, wasn't even looking for the ball, and got it and ran for a first down.
You need crazy bleep to happen to lose that game. And people always go, it was the Freeman play and it was this and it was that. No, there was a lot of things. Like you can win a game in the second quarter or set a tone. You can lose a game in the third quarter or set a tone to win it. The problem is the boogeyman and Tom Brady. Well, it was the boogeyman. Like,
man, it was the boogeyman.
Hey, Chris, let me ask you this. Do you like hip-hop music?
I'd be lying if I said yes. So here's what I'll say. I have two daughters, 21 and 19. And
Okay.
I've had it on in the car because when we would go to soccer games, I gave them choice of the radio. So I heard it. I wouldn't necessarily play it as my first choice, but I heard it for a few years in the car because my daughters liked it. So I know a little bit of it. I don't know enough to be dangerous.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. The reason I ask you is because to get that Falcons loss off my mind, and B Rich know where I'm going with this, just since they brought up, and then I'm gonna pass it back to B Rich. You know, I wrote what we call a sports bar. You know, in hip hop and in rap, we call the lines, they say bars. You know, like somebody got bars, so we call them sports bars. Well, I say a rhyme about it, and I wrote a rhyme about that game. To like before we even started the show, I wrote this rhyme to get it off my chest.
Okay.
And it went like this, Chris. It went, when the birds fly high and the ship set out to sea, there was a falcon flying high, winning 28-3, running up and down the field, moving swift and moving fast. And for 3 whole quarters, Patriots fans knew we was all on their ass. Tom Brady was looking foolish. Bill Belichick was stuck. And every time the Falcons scored, we'd play Nook If You Buck. We were drinking margaritas and my wife was blowing a kiss. And all I could think was, oh, man, we about to finally win this shit. Then all of a sudden, everything went flat. It's like my Falcon got shot out the sky and went splat, splat, splat. And as they scored the winning touchdown, I couldn't even take no more. So I told everybody at our house for the Super Bowl party, get the hell out of my front door. I'm mad and I'm sick and I can't take it, man. But that's exactly what happens when you decide to be a damn Falcons fan.
Yeah, man, that went viral for us, man. We got like almost 1 million views off that on our second post.
You should. Let me ask you something. When you write something like that, are you writing it down? Or are you... Like, did you literally take pen and paper and start crossing out words, or did that just happen?
Nah, he does that.
Yeah.
So I have it in my head. It's like writing. I just remember it.
Mm-hmm.
I just memorize it instead of writing it down.
Hey, Chris, true story. We was doing a podcast taping. He was answering questions and everything, and he literally wrote a sports bar. I forgot about who it was, and he did it in the show. And I'm like, well, how are you writing it and still answering my questions? And going back and forth with me. So he has a gift. You know, he was an artist. He was a rapper, and he had some pretty big songs with T.I., Meek Mill, just to name a few. And he wrote some big hits that your daughters may have heard on the radio. So yeah, he just got that gift.
Yeah, some people see in pictures. If I read something, like mine is, if I read something, it's there.
Now yours is baseball, man. You're a baseball historian, man.
But if I even history stuff, if I read it, I have to read it. I have to hold it in my hand and I have to look at it. I know other people who can just visualize. They see pictures, they see words.
Yeah.
I'm not that way. But if I get it once,
you got it.
I got it.
Yeah.
And I do know, like, everybody has sort of a skill. The good news is if you find out what it is and you're able to share it with people.
All right. So look, man, we're at the hour mark, about to wrap it up. I want to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
It's an uncomfortable question, so bear with me.
Okay.
All right. So back in the time, man, you guys were like killing it, man. It was Nick and Chris, and the two Live Stews. They were up and coming. They had a hot show, and it was time to pass the ball off to you guys' show. And he had O.J. Simpson on at the time, and I think he was still on air when you guys came in. And then when you came in and kind of went in on OJ. Tell me what you was thinking, and tell me if you had to do it all over again, would you have done it that way?
So the real backstory is Nick and I had him. We did 45 minutes with OJ. You know, we did before podcasts and everything else. I don't know if you guys remember this. We had OJ on. We dropped, and we thought he hung up on us. 45 seconds later, the phone is ringing back to the studio. It's OJ calling back. We did 45 minutes with OJ Simpson. No commercials. The only interruption was we dropped, and he called us right back. And on that show, I know what I said. I said, I believe you did it. And he said, well, why would people let their kids come play in my house? I said, I don't know why people do anything. How would I know why people let their kids come to your house? Whatever. I believe he did it. So I said that, but I also said, so here's the crazy part. So let's be honest. I said I believe he cut 2 people's heads off. You know what he was mad at me for? Because I said I thought his pro career relative to his college career was overrated. I knew he rushed for 2,000 yards. I was a young football fan. I know what he did. His pro career got bumped more than I thought it should have been. His college career is phenomenal. He was madder at me for saying I thought his pro career was overrated instead of saying he cut 2 people's heads off. And I found that really strange. I was like, why are you getting upset about this one? Like, I just thought that was just strange. And that was sort of the basis for he was angrier at that statement than he was of the other statement. And we had him on before he came in studio. So there was me being able to say it to him and then me saying what I said about his career. And I just found it weird that somebody would be more insulted by that than the other thing. And I think that's what set it off as problematic. And I will tell you, look, Ryan and Doug, I wasn't looking to put anybody in a bad place. I certainly know this. I don't apologize for my opinion about it, either one, that he did it, and his pro career was a little bit overrated. Not terrible, just a little bit overrated, especially compared to his college career. And I here's what I've tried to avoid in my life and in radio. I'm going to be honest, but I don't want to have anybody have to answer for what it is I said. And I thought with that one, they got stuck. Not stuck. I was there, but I thought they got stuck with cleaning up something that I said. And that was my regret. I don't want, it's like an athlete. The first thing I learned, second thing I learned maybe when I started in 1993, don't ask me about him. Ask him about him. And it's why when guys duck out and don't do post games, and when guys duck out at the end of the year, they're not heard from. It's unfair to go to a teammate and say, tell me about him. I'm not telling you about him. Go ask him about him. That's what happened that day. When I left the room that day, it was they needed to clean up something that I said. I don't regret saying it. I just didn't want them to have to clean it up. That's my regret of the whole thing, is you don't want to put people in a position where their guest is uncomfortable or their time might not go the way that they had hoped it would go. I don't regret saying it. I just don't like the idea that I got to leave and they had to finish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So did you like, how's your relationship with the Stews now if you see them, and did you apologize to them, because you saying you regret saying that? Were you sorry about it, and did you get an opportunity to apologize to them about it?
I think I did say something to Ryan. I don't know if I said anything to Doug, because I be honest, I don't remember that. I do remember, look, here's what I said. I know this. Those guys had a thing, and I respect having a thing and then being able to push it forward. I thought Ryan was real. Like, I watched him on ESPN like everybody else did. I watched him. I listened to him on our station, and I thought what they were doing was so different. But you can only be different for a little while. You better be good. And they were different and good. And I think I ended up saying that to Ryan. I don't know if I saw Doug enough afterwards. I saw Ryan years ago now. And I think I had a chance to say it to him. But I don't think I saw Doug really. It wasn't a word thing. It wasn't said then. I hope I said to them at that moment, hey, man, I wasn't looking to cause a problem. He heard what I said, and he got upset about it. And I wasn't going to run away from it. But I didn't want it to be their problem. If you want to come at me, come at me. I didn't want it to be their mess. And I hope I said it to them then. I do know that I had a chance to speak to Ryan years later. And I know fatherhood is their thing. And I know, listen, I hope everybody's happy. I haven't talked to him in a while. I follow him a little bit like some other people on social media. I just wish their thing was more sustainable. And for whatever reason it wasn't, I think the city sort of lost out on what was a different brand of sports talk radio. And it was ahead of its time in a lot of ways. Yeah,
we did. Well, I'm glad that you say you took the time to speak to Ryan. I hope, if you get a chance to talk to Doug, you can let Doug know, because, those, like you said, you don't want to make anybody else comfortable. I know that had to be a very uncomfortable situation for them. And the city definitely does miss the Stews. Like, they brought something special to sports talk that I don't think could be duplicated. And we definitely miss those guys.
And the reason I asked you that question, because I was such a big fan of you and Nick, and it was just a disappointment. I didn't know where that came from. I mean, I know, about thinking OJ did it or whatever, I think, to be honest with you, it was like, for so many years, white people got away with doing things to blacks, And I think a lot of black people, whether he did it or not, felt the victory of like, okay, even if he did it or not, he got off. And I think that was the gist of it. I don't think it was, for me, it wasn't a black or white thing. It was like, dang, I can't believe he got off, because the evidence was there. But to the point is, I just didn't know where that came from. But to say that you interviewed him before, take us back to how it happened when you was going over and he was on air. What I forgot what was said. I just remember something was said. What take us back to that, because I don't really remember how it came about.
Yeah, so I at a certain point in the conversation, I said I think both Nick and I don't want to speak for Nick, but I think we both. I know I certainly said I believe he did it, and then he went into, well, how could I have done this and this and this and this? And I don't want to try the case again. The case was already tried, but in my mind, it's what I believed. And if we're really going to be a show of honesty, if we're really going to do this and talk like men, I wasn't going to not say it. I mean,
no,
we got
I
O.J.
respect
Simpson.
it. Now, I mean, like,
yeah.
It's the same with asking you this question. Like, it was hard to, ask you. But what I'm asking you is, during the stews, when you can't, when it was paying pass to you and you was on the air, what was said? Like, what made you say something? What were you thinking?
No. I think it was. I think it was. I had said this about his career, and he was told that. And then it was, oh, wait, do you really want to say this again? And I said, yeah, I'll say it again. Wait,
wow. So he remembered you, who you was, and he brought. And
it was told to him. I think if I'm right about this, they might have played golf that day. They might have, the Stews might have played golf with him that day. And I think over the course of the day, somebody had told him, oh, there's a guy who said your pro career was overrated. Now, I didn't say it like that. I said his pro career, who's an incredible college player. I thought his pro career, 2,000 yards and everything else, I didn't knock it. I just said, I think people, like I said, I watched Billy Sims. And I said, I like watching Billy Sims. I thought Billy Sims was every bit as good as O.J. Simpson. People lose their crap about that. Well, Billy Sims got hurt, and we'll never know. I watched Barry Sanders. I thought Barry Sanders was every bit as good as O.J. Simpson. People lose their crap about that. And I don't care. It's just what I feel. I'm not telling you. There's not a measurable. I don't know if I'm right or not. I'm just telling you what I remember of his pro career. It ended pretty quickly. He had 3 really good years. Doesn't mean he wasn't a great player. They were trying to stop him, by the way. That's the most important thing about him. Everybody knew they were going to give OJ the ball, and he still got yards. I ain't knocking that. That's incredible. But it was about 3.5 years of really great football, where I saw guys who had more than 3.5, 4 years of great football. That was my only point. So when I think he found out that it was me who said that, they said, did you really say that? And I said, yeah. I said, I'll say it again. And I think that was sort of how it went.
Kicked off. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't barge in, and I didn't go, oh, you brought this guy in? This guy was a terrible pro.
Because it came, like, to be honest, like, and maybe as time is going by, that's how it came across. Like you kind of just like you kind of just took over the show and made a comment and stepped on the Stews. And to be perfectly honest, like you said, we talk like men. That was something that, like, myself, who was a fan, I listened to you, I listened to the Stews. I was upset about that for a minute, because I, like, at the time, from where I remembered it, I thought you just barged in and took over the Stews show to get something off that you wanted to say about OJ at a time when it wasn't the most, when it wasn't the appropriate time to say it. I kind of felt like you just took the chance to just, I'm gonna say what I want to say because I want to say it. I didn't know the backstory though.
I sort of have a little bit of a rule. I'll go in the studio when I'm invited in. You know what I mean? Like, I'll go in when I'm invited in. No, I don't think there was a barge. I think he heard during the day that someone had said it, and it was like, yeah, I was the one who said it. I said, but I found it really sort of strange that he was more upset about my comment about his pro career as opposed to
than the other comment.
Right.
And we don't have to keep saying it because we do stream across all these major platforms, so we don't want to say keep saying that one. But I understand that. But I'm glad you spoke to Ryan. I'm glad you and Ryan were able to talk about it, and I hope you and Doug can talk about it.
Yeah, I listen. I hope so. I would tell you this. I hope whatever it is they're doing and what they want to do, it's fulfilling, because that's the end. What you guys do, what I do. I want it to be. I don't listen. I'm a cynic, and there are people I don't like. But if I don't like you, I deal from the top of the deck. I don't deal from the bottom. I pride myself in that. I got to sleep at night, like you guys. Be Rich, I'm going to tell you, I feel bad that it was almost hard to ask that, because I don't think it is a hard question. Because
Whatever
the relationship is, if we're going to talk like men, let's just talk like men.
Yeah, no,
we don't have to agree.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that I mean, I'm a big fan. I've always been. This is like, this is big for me. This is a big moment for me. I'm pretty sure it's big for Trey. Like, you guys are staples in sports Atlanta. And it's an honor for you being on here to pick your brain and for you to accept us, as a colleague. I like that and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I hope more people get past 50 episodes to get their footing. You find out who you are.
Yeah.
You'll find out, what am I willing to say? What am I not willing to say? I got to look at myself. I got to live with myself. I got to go to sleep at night. You have kids. Look, I know that I will temper some of what I say because I have kids. It's not that I won't tell you my truth, but it's my truth. I don't want to not say anything. I don't want to edit too often, but I certainly understand that there are certain things that don't need to be said. Like when I was doing the Falcons, there were good years and bad years. My rule with the Falcons was, if they stink today, I'm allowed to say they stink today. What I don't want to do is take personal shots. And there's a difference, and you find out there's a difference between taking a personal shot and talking about what you see professionally. Now, I have taken personal shots. There's no doubt in my mind. I have. But I say, here comes a personal shot. I know it's personal. I'm not delusional. Fair or unfair.
I've taken personal shots at KD. And we had Lou Will on, so I kind of changed my stance on it. But I was the one I would say, KD got all the physical tools. He can get a basket just like anyone. I just felt he didn't have any dog in him. And, after listening to an NBA player that played, alongside him and he gave me his perspective, I changed my view on it.
Right. And that's processing. That's moving along. There are things that we hold true to. We all do. In our format, we get to say a lot of them. Now, the other thing I would tell you guys, as you get more into this and as you find out that you can talk to other people in town with the organization or with teams, do yourself a favor. If you have an opportunity to ask somebody before you go on and say, I'm going to say this because this is what I see and this is what I believe. When you build relationships and somebody could say, here's where you're a little bit off, listen to what they say and understand that you might not change your mind completely, but at least like with Lou Williams, you have now a depth that you didn't have before. And if you're willing to do that, not close off the outside noise, not listen to people, you guys will do another 50 episodes. And at 100 episodes, you're going to look back and go, we're better at it today than we were. And that's sort of the progress of this. The only way you get to 50 is if you enjoy it. People are listening. To get to the next 50 becomes, okay, how do we get better at doing this? Part of getting better is having Lou Williams on, having somebody from the front office or somebody who's been in that position in the past, give you guys a little bit of a, well, here's what goes on behind the scenes. And that's the way that the show absolutely progresses.
All right. Well, my last question is, before I don't have any more, is who is your favorite interview of all time?
That's a good one. So I'll temper it with this. We had a couple of, we've been pretty eclectic. We interviewed Jim Lovell, the guy from Apollo 13, the ships. We had the cap, the guy who was in charge of that. We had Chuck Yeager, who broke the sound barrier. We had John McCain before he ran for president in 2000 because he was we had him because he was a big boxing fan. We had Don King and Michael Spinks come to the beer garden.
Wow.
So we've done things in person. Ted Williams was the one I was probably the most nervous about because he was sort of unhealthy. And his future daughter-in-law said, you might get 3 minutes, you might get 5 minutes, you might get 10. Well, I did 28 minutes with him, and he ended up asking me about my father. Like that was, I didn't expect, I joke, I was more nervous the night before that than I was the night before my wedding because I figured my wife was going to show up. I wasn't sure if Ted Williams was going to show up. So that one was a little bit different. I like some, we've had musicians on. We had Jamie Foxx come in studio with us. Yeah. No entourage, just by himself. And you go, okay, let's have a conversation. And it's funny you say that. Did you ask best interview? I'm going to go back because I don't like the word interview. I hate it. Mm-hmm. It's a conversation. Like an interview to me is a deposition. An interview is yes, no answers. Like I've talked to old guys where I could hear them, and you guys will find this out. You'll hear somebody sit back in their chair relaxed, and you go, now we're doing it. Yeah. And then he'll move forward in his seat because he's interested or excited. Yeah. Now we're doing it. That's not an interview. That's a conversation.
That's a conversation.
I like how you put that. I'm going to start saying conversations.
I like that word much better. Again, if it's a legal thing or if it's yes, no answers, I just need answers. It could be an interview. The other problem is guys write down 7 questions. And I found that I don't write them down because I don't want to have to worry about question 4 because I'm not listening to the answer to question 3.
Wow.
So I don't believe in I have to get to this and I have to get to this because you're going to miss good stuff. You're going to miss good stuff if you're so hell-bent on believing you've got the greatest 7 questions in the world written down. And that's when the flow of the show and the flow of the people gets better. Yeah.
I'm definitely going to remember that. We appreciate that. We appreciate that, Chris.
Hey, Chris, whenever you're talking about the Falcons, man, just to help us out with sell us some hoodies, you got to say the blood pressure birds and let everybody know Trey came up with that, man. The blood pressure birds are stressing me out.
Hold on. Listen, I unfortunately might end up using it way too many Monday mornings or Sunday nights around. Blood pressure bird. All right, I'm writing it down because I need to see it and read it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let them know, man. Trey over there at the Water Boys, my guy, the Water Boys show, man. Like they call them, the blood pressure birds. Hey. One last thing before you go. Yeah. One of our viewers and our supporters, he always comes in with a lot of football knowledge. He dropped 4 names that he says who the Falcons really need. I don't know if you know these names or not, but he kept asking me will I throw them out. It's Jared Ivey, Eric Gentry, Jerome Walker, and then Alu Wayfemi. I think that's the last name. And so what do you think? Do you know anything about those 4 players that you could share from your perspective?
No. I want an edge rusher. I want a guy who played at a big school. Narrow it down that way. Free agency, I don't really know how much money we have. We can clear up a lot of money, but are we going to extend guys we shouldn't extend? We're going to pay guys off for not being playoff type players. I get nervous about that. I want somebody who knocks a quarterback on their ass. and basically says, I'm coming back for more. There's nothing you can do today. It's me versus you. I'm going to beat your lineman. That's easy. But I'm also going to make your life miserable. And until I see a defense that sort of plays like that, I read mock drafts. I read them with kind of laughing because nobody knows how the 14 picks are going to go in front of us. So people just start throwing darts at names. But I know what I need. I need a guy who becomes a game wrecker. Not even a game changer anymore.
We need a game Palomalo, man. We need Troy.
Michael Parsons.
Yes.
We need a game wrecker. We need a Watt. We need a guy who absolutely. Problem with the Falcons for the last few years is I've always said on Sunday night, when you're a good football team, Sunday night, the offensive and defensive coordinator are so worried about you. They just played a game at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock. They get back and they start thinking about the team you're going to play, the Atlanta Falcons. We've never made it difficult on those guys. We haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah.
We don't make offensive and defensive coordinators sweat out Sunday night, sweat out Monday. We just don't because we haven't been good enough on either side of the ball. Yeah,
like Frazier said, like the Eagles front 4. Well, hey man, we would love to, be a part of your show. We'd love to come on and talk with you and Nick, man. If you have us, we'd come, man. So thank you, man.
Why don't we think about doing that seriously at some point this summer? Why don't we all get in a room? Why don't we record one of these that we can actually put out as well?
Yeah,
I think the 4 of us would have a good time.
Nah, I think so too, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
Have some beers. Let's go knock it out.
And that's the way to do it. You just sit around the table and just see what comes up.
Let's do that. Don't stand us up on that, Chris.
No. I'm serious because there were times when the Braves were playing on the West Coast. There were times with a day off. Let's figure out where it could be. It might be here. I'm in our conference room here. We got the ability to set microphones down and just start doing it.
Okay, we'll come there. We'll do that. We'll bring our camera guy and just knock it out.
And I can't wait to come in studio with you guys. Listen, thank you very much. I know we're sort of trying to do this for a while, but I appreciate you guys not only listening, I appreciate you guys actually sort of understanding this format. And now, again, trying to take it in the direction that's yours. Good for you guys for doing all that stuff.
Thank you. We appreciate you, Dimino. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Hey, well, look, everybody, we appreciate y'all. Hey, look, we appreciate y'all. Like we say every single show, we just had the great Chris Dimino on. We're going to give it up one more time for Dimino. Y'all check Dimino and Nick Cellini out, man, on 680 The Fan. And like we tell y'all all the time, if you're in Atlanta, listen to 680 The Fan. But like we tell y'all all the time, man, the Waterboy Show, we represent Atlanta because Atlanta represents us. Stay loyal, stay Atlanta. On behalf of the Waterboy Show, I'm Trey. That's my partner, B Rich. That's Chris Dimino. We are out.